Travis Wayne Goodsell. Over the weekend, I watched one of my popular videos on my Travis Wayne Goodsell channel, the one about the warning for 15 May, and I'm still thinking they took down the thumbnail. It just seems weird. I thought there was something else up. But you can tell that I still hadn't figured out all of my Movie Maker yet. And it was my experiment with glasses, and then realized, oh, right, the contact in my right eye makes me have blurry vision. Because the left eye, he didn't adjust for the two. He gave me the most expensive contacts, taking advantage of me. And so, yeah, the glasses caused an indentation, severe headaches, even when not wearing them. But in the video, it was curious. It was just a warning, and it was obviously pre-COVID. But I had one person, the terrorist specifically, say that nothing happened on that day. It was 2018. He did not watch the other videos that followed, and the one that was on that day. There was something that did happen. It was a sign in the heavens that I was going by, and the event that occurred was Trump declaring Israel the capital, or Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, and had that ceremony with the first children, Jared and Ivanka. Lock them up. Quit fooling around. Lock them up. And so, yeah, that was a pretty severe thing they pulled, as Israel murdered a number of Palestinians who were getting too close to the wall. They wanted to make sure nobody was even near to pose a threat. So they were extra extreme that day. And so as I've done videos for the past 4 years, you will notice a pattern of me covering signs in the heavens with you. And I've got 2 other videos, and I don't know if this week is either Chris or Rachel's weeks off for their vacation times, but we'll see if they'll end up being done tonight or tomorrow. But Amos 3:7 makes it very clear that the president of the church is supposed to inform, reveal, disclose to the prophets, who then spread it to the people, the warning voice, the context of lion and the trap and all that stuff. There's supposed to be things that need to be warned about, so that you don't fall into the trap or get devoured by a lion. And you're going, wait a minute, the president of the church? What? It's surely the Lord God will do nothing save he shall revealeth his secrets unto his servants the prophets. Well, if you've watched all my videos, you've caught the one where I talked about Amos 3:7 being translated incorrectly, and I give you the correct translation, because you all remember that, right? It's Aten Yahweh is the correct translation, and Aten comes from the character that the author of the Bible in the Roman period designated as Moses, as Akhenaten, who did away in 84 of the Doctrine and Covenants, goes into this explanation perfectly. It's amazing why no Egyptologists, especially Egyptologists in the church, have missed this. I don't understand. It's right there. It could show that Joseph Smith is true and great. Church doesn't want that, I guess. But he's the one who did away with the Amun priesthood and established his Aten priesthood in its place. And there's a psalm about a lion that corresponds with the Amarna and the Amarna documents, which Amarna is Akhenaten. I have to get into my Egyptian speech. I've been in America for too long. To reverse some missionaries, they go on a mission, speak foreign language, they come back, they're still speaking whatever language. And so, yeah, I won't go into greater detail. And so, yeah, signs in the heavens are part of this. It's the part about being a revelator. Section 107, verse 91. The president of the church is the keys of Moses, not Peter, James, and John. Isn't that interesting? And so then it talks about he has the gift of seer, revelator, prophet, translator. Very distinct. The church says Joseph wasn't a translator, he was just a revelator. Again, if you're not going to support Joseph Smith, don't claim him as your founder. Just say Brigham Young, when Joseph Smith died, started up his own religion, moved everybody out of the country to Mexico territory. And we celebrate that event this week on the 24th, Saturday. Yay. Somebody went and asked me, are you going to the parade? No! Don't be an ass. I'm not going to the parade. And so if you've watched the videos that I did over the weekend, you'll notice one that was specifically targeting Nelson. Not you guys, Nelson. I should have shut off all comments and all thumbs up and thumbs down. I didn't, because I'm in the habit of not. I still hold all comments for review. But let's see if I can finish in 5, or I've got to take care of a program. And in that video, I was inspired, just like I was for the video warning about the 15th of May, 2018. But this one wasn't about a sign in the heavens. I found out that there was one afterwards, and then did that video. It's the David slaying Goliath sign in the heavens. And we're still in it, as I gave the timeline as inspired for Wednesday, pretty much, because Thursday morning, 10 o'clock, and that's it. That's the time's up that I was given by inspiration. And you can get angry all you want, but one of my other videos that I was going to give is Mormon and ex-Mormon YouTube etiquette. Why are you watching my channel if you do not agree? Why are you even bothering to comment your hate if you do not agree? There is some etiquette that needs to be discussed. But that's another video. And so, yeah, the signs in the heavens, as I've been trying to teach, come from Scripture. the stories in Scripture, not just John's revelation specific detailed time and day and hour dates. So Matthew got it wrong. We do know the day and the hour. John gave it to us. Should have consulted John before you went and wrote your Matthew. And John, of course, got it from Isaiah. And Isaiah, of course, got it from the Egyptians. Of course. If you've been watching all my videos, you would understand. And there's etiquette involved. Prerequisites are required in order to respond intelligently to videos. You can't assume that the one video you come to is the only one I've got. Especially when you look and see that I have hundreds of subscribers, depending on which channel you go to. Depends on whether I have over 500 or over 300. I could be close to 400 on the one. And so the sign of David slaying Goliath, as I went over the story in that weekend video, it talks about David protecting the sheep, so he's a shepherd. Oh, just like Jesus. Yeah, exactly like Jesus. I wonder where the authors of the Gospels got it from. Oh, he's a descendant of King David? Oh, the Good Shepherd? Oh. And of course, it comes from the Egyptians. Not a coincidence. So it looks like I'm going to have to do a little pause. Not on the machine, because that'll mess up the voice to... 1080p, and it still has too much crap that I have to deal with. And so to go over the explanation of the signs, there's Mars and Venus at the constellation of Leo. Over the weekend, they were still at the mouth of Leo. And that's what it talks about in the story of David, is that the lion had taken a chomp on one of the lambs and was running away with it to devour it. So David had to go hunt it down and rescue the lamb. And so with Mars and Venus at the mouth of Leo the lion, you need to know, well, who then is the representation of Mars and who then is the representation of Venus. And I've got to go. Slow. Alright. So now I can take my time. Lock them up. That's all you gotta do. Lock them up. Quit fooling around for ratings. You know that's when they're doing this. And so, when did Monson die? Oh yes, everybody remembers it was the 2nd of January 2018, right? Do you think there might have been a sign in the heavens? Since we're in the latter days and there's supposed to be signs in the heavens, the president of the church dying? Anything? Why, yes there is, Travis. John chapter 12, one of those specific signs. And it's verse 4. The stars falling from the tail of the dragon. Yeah, falling star. Death of the president of the church. You see how the symbol works there? And, you know, yeah. Isaiah, how art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? And the dragon is Lucifer. falling from the tail of the dragon. It's the quadrantid meteor showers, which are the third largest meteor showers of the year. A third of the stars fall from the tail of the dragon. And then, of course, there was also the pattern of a lunar eclipse for Monson's death as well. And so when you looked at the stars for that evening, you would see that Mars, as Monson is dead, Nelson takes over, right? It's automatic. That's the way Brigham Young set it up for his church. So how would we identify Nelson? Well, there's a constellation called Libra. It's the scales of judgment. The top of the scales of judgment is for the judge, who judges those who are being weighed and measured on the scales of judgment. That's the way it's set up in the stars. This was how the Bible was written. Because at the end of our judgment, wow, what do you know? There's the star Akrib, which is designated as the tree of knowledge of good and evil. What happened at the tree of knowledge of good and evil in the Bible account? Yeah, mankind fell. I have to say mankind because Judeo-Christianity says it's the woman's fault. Joseph Smith with the Book of Mormon said, nope, man fell. That man might be, men are that they might have joy. Remember that? Where's Eve? Eve fell that man might be, men are that they might have joy with Eve. Nope, that's not the way it's worded, is it? And so, yeah, who is at the top of Libra as Monson is dead? Mars. I had already suspected Mars as Nelson because of the Family Discovery Day in 2017 of February. There was another fulfillment in chapter 12 referring to the flood, and so I was suspicious that that was the fulfillment of it, and that Mars was a representation of Nelson because of the way it was positioned during that partial lunar eclipse. And plus the tetrad, all set up for Nelson to be the successor once Monson dies. And so, yeah, I've been following Mars and paying attention to the news with whatever Nelson does or says. And yeah, it's pretty scary, because if you're a faithful Mormon, you don't want to study the stars in the heavens of the latter days. Don't do it. Stay away. You're going to lose your testimony. There's a channel by a former Mormon, Dave Borowitz, I think his name is. I saw that he had done a video 4 days ago talking about asking his viewers if we can lose a testimony. It's kind of a loaded question because Mormons have altered the definition of testimony specifically for that reason. To put a scare in the Mormons and to keep them away from an actual testimony. Because if Mormons get a testimony, they'll learn the church isn't true and they'll leave. So if they keep Mormons thinking, oh, your spiritual witness is a testimony, and then what happens is when something happens in the church or you learn something about church history that is a final straw for you, then you have a faith crisis. You don't lose your testimony. You never had one. But if you're going to change the definition to spiritual witness, then you lost your testimony. But if you liken it unto the comparisons with seed and fruit. Well, oh, you lost your seed. Oh no. It's already dead. You never planted it. The seed died. Seed without fruit is dead. Faith without testimony is dead. It's not a complicated doctrine. But leave it to the prophets to confuse Mormons, and misinformation ensues. But yeah, Mars is Nelson. Plain and simple. And so there he is at the mouth of the lion. So is he the one needing to be rescued by King David? It's because what is the story? The lion was just his resume to do battle with Goliath without armor. Oh no, the shield of armor, faith, helmet, or whatever each represented. And was it Corinthians or one of those others? Who cares? I'm sure there's Christians who may not have seen my other videos, which would have offended them. It's necessary to destroy the church, to show that there is no historical Jesus created by Constantine, and thus the Book of Mormon can't be real as a history, let alone any kind of plates whatsoever, because the Jesus that appears in 3 Nephi 11 is not real. So how are you going to explain that to Mormons without exposing the Constantine big lie? And so then Venus is the girl. Da 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 da. And Venus, yeah, that comes from Isaiah. That exact same passage. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer? You wanted to ascend to heaven, and yet you fell. That's Venus. And Venus is the morning star. And when we see it rising in the morning, it's because it's in front of the sun, which means it's to the right of the sun rather than the left. If it's to the left of the sun, we see it at sunset. Simple enough, because the light of the sun is too glorious for Venus to remain visible. This is important when understanding symbolic interpretation. Venus never makes it to due south. Jupiter's made it to due south. Isn't that interesting? It's due south right now. There's a reason for that, because of the sign in the heaven that I'm trying to teach you guys. And so Venus is also the bridegroom, because she's female. Not only is she Lucifer, but she's also the bride of Lucifer. The bride of Satan. I'm sure there are movies. I'm pretty sure I had obtained one once. I was doing a video talking about it, and so I made sure to show that I had a DVD that I was converting to digital. I don't know if anybody caught that. But yeah, just as Jesus is the husbandman to the bridegroom to the bride with the church, and I think that's Corinthians. I don't know, everything's in Corinthians. We'll just say that. Don't make me look it up. Look it up on your own. And it could be Thessalonians. Not going to look it up. But yeah, Jesus is portrayed as the bridegroom, and the bride is the church. And so you're supposed to treat your wife as Jesus treated the church. You know, whip her good, right? Temple, the money changers. Don't whip your wife. Cut it out. Not even if she wants to have you whip her. That's a trap. Don't do it. And so, yeah, Venus is the Mormons. The Church of Lucifer. How do we know they're the Church of Lucifer? The great and abominable talked about in the Book of Mormon? That is not a history. And so if it's not a history, the great and abominable church has yet to come. Isn't that interesting? But, yeah, Salt Lake Temple, headquarters, Zion for this church. The keystone of the temple. What is the keystone of the church of Joseph Smith? The Book of Mormon. What is the keystone of this church, which Brigham Young himself says, that's what I want on the keystone of the doors of the Salt Lake Temple? Well, it's the same thing he ordered put on the Nauvoo Temple after Joseph died. It's the inverted pentagram of Lucifer. How art thou fallen from heaven? Stars fall from heaven. When a star falls, it's pointing up as a five-pointed star, but now it's falling, so now you turn it upside down, just like those smiles. If by chance you meet a smile, do not let it stay. Quickly turn it upside down and frown that smile away. Isn't that the primary song we were taught? So yes, Great and Abominable Church. This is only a part of the bigger puzzle. Because if you're just watching this for the first time and already you're offended because you're a Mormon, you haven't watched my yet to come video on YouTube etiquette for Mormons and ex-Mormons, there is far more support for this. The Book of Mormon helps us identify this great and abominable church. And I'm surprised other Mormons haven't caught on. Oh, right. You're just supposed to read, ponder, and pray and get a spiritual witness. So, as Mars is the president of the Great and Abominable Church, he's Goliath in representation. The Venus is the Israelites that are in bondage to the Great and Abominable Church and the leader of the Great and Abominable Church, Goliath. And so King David, as a little boy, as John calls him a male child, man-child in our English translation, as Isaiah says, unto us a child is born, unto us a child is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulders, or will be upon his shoulders. It's referring to the last days Messiah. Because remember, historical Jesus, Constantine. Oh no, what do we do? Isn't there a Christ somewhere? Yeah, David was a Christ. But David was from the dynasty that Akhenaten, Moses, came from. The David-Moses dynasty. And so it's the last days Moses. Because Isaiah is after David. And yes, the scriptures also indicate that, but it's further back than what the Jewish author who combined the Tanakh together even knew about. And so, so over the weekend and at the end of last week, Mars and Venus were in the mouth of Leo. And so Nelson has Mormons in his mouth. He's got them bit and he's ready to devour Mormons. And so now we're waiting for the King David. Section 103 verse 16 informs us that this latter-day King David, this latter-day Christ, is a Mormon. And that's Jupiter, who's now in Aquarius at the bowels. So read section 85, verse 7. His bowels shall be a fountain of truth. You see how this is working? In Leo, there is a star called Regulus. On Monson's birthday, on the 21st of August, 2017, the whole nation celebrated Monson's birthday with his upcoming death. The total solar eclipse over the United States that passed over Adamon-Diamond and Independence, Missouri. Now, if you're thinking we're going back there, you've missed the videos where I've gone over Joseph Smith's talk of 19 July 1840. He says, most of you think we're going there. No. No. You are wrong. So I was wrong. My number one video back in 2017 was before I found that passage or that talk in the Joseph Smith papers, because it was not published by Brigham Young in the Doctrine and Covenants, and so it was sort of kept from us Mormons. And so Regulus comes from the root word for king, regal, king, Regulus. In Leo, the lion, where King David, born in Bethlehem, they call it Ephrath, something like that. That was the original name for Bethlehem. As Constantine, turning Jesus into a historical figure, then went around Israel and said, oh, there's Bethlehem, that's his birthplace. There's where he was crucified. There's the Garden of Gethsemane. There's the tomb. There's the... Yeah. No. He made it all up. Now that he made Jesus a historical figure, he's got to place him in a historical time period with historical places. But, yeah, that's why the Gospels authors say, oh, he's supposed to be born in Bethlehem. Not the place on earth, up in the heavens. That's in the constellation of, wait for it, Virgo. A virgin shall conceive and bear a son. Where does she conceive sons? Well, at the star Spica, the star of Bethlehem, the house of bread, as she's holding sheaves of wheat. Isn't that amazing? So much has been lost from our knowledge of Scripture. And so Jupiter is the Mormon Christ. Mars is Nelson, and Venus is the Mormons. And whether or not it's the ex-Mormons, that's a different question. Because hopefully there will be ex-Mormons who will realize they need to get the hell out of Utah when the Exodus occurs. I would hope that's the case. I would hope that their disillusionment of the church will not result in their pride getting in the way of needing to flee and not knowing who to flee with. Because if they don't trust the church, how are they going to trust a Mormon from section 103, verse 16? So, Venus, on Wednesday, the final day that I was inspired to warn Nelson to, Wednesday, Venus. They're at the true president of the church star. Why is it a true star rather than Mars? Because Mars doesn't get to that place until the 29th, which has significance, and I'll get to that in a minute. Venus, and it looks like I may not get to the other videos, as we're already over 36 minutes. Venus is at Regulus the true Christ, the true Moses, the true descendant of King David, as this is all part of the symbolism of David slaying Goliath and freeing the house of Israel from the bondage of the Philistines, and the lamb being freed from the lion. The two working together here for the sign. As David talks about grabbing the lion by his mane, and that's where Mars is this Wednesday. They're no longer at the mouth. Venus is now separating itself from Mars, and Mars is there at the mane, and Venus is at the true star of the king. It's fixed. It's always in that position as it moves around the horizon. And the horizons, the Omega symbol, the Akhet Aten symbol, and so Mars is not fixed. Nelson doesn't live forever, but the prophecies of the true king are fixed. The word of the Lord must be fulfilled. Otherwise, he ceases to be God. Right? Remember that in the Book of Mormon? The word must be fulfilled, Mormons. And so if you prevent the Mormon who's supposed to be the true president of the church from becoming the true president of the church, you've just denounced the Book of Mormon. You've denounced your God. Isn't that great? And so, yes, David slays Goliath. Now, in reality, if Nelson were to die by Wednesday, fulfilling the sign in the heavens, Oaks is just going to take over immediately. And so I'd have to then see if Mars then is now Oaks, which, again, like I said, on the 29th, which is Thursday, that will be Oaks's first meeting with the whole quorum of apostles and prophets in his first presidency. They'll likely have a meeting on Monday after the funeral services for Nelson, but they may do a press conference, and he'll try to establish some things. We're now starting polygamy openly. Screw America and the deep state Dems. I rule Utah now. And we're seceding from the nation. Don't be surprised. He may actually do that. But, I'll, of course, be sending him a video letting him know the church does not belong to him. It belongs to the true Mormon, not him. And so, yeah, Mars will now be at Regulus on that day, when Oaks would have his first meeting as the King of Mormons. So that's what I see in the heavens, and I'm just revealing it to you. How it actually is fulfilled, we'll have to wait and see. But I've always been right, even though I did not know in advance what would have happened. But I did recognize it when it did happen, because of the sign. And so, like Amos 3:7 says, Mormons need to be warned. They cannot be saved in ignorance. Just as missionaries, we have to give people the message. And if they choose not to research it and find out that the church is false, that's on them. So, knowing now what I know now, I kind of feel guilty for the one and only family I helped through the investigator lessons to baptism, the Rincon family, with their infant baby daughter, Seychelles, for the Seychelles Islands. You know, they just wanted a religion to raise their daughter in. As New York is not the most optimal place for family raising. So, I have no idea what's happened to them since. Can't find them anywhere. So, yeah, that's what's coming. That's, again, a revealed warning for Mormons and for Nelson. I mean, it's not Wednesday, but that's the deadline day, as there's a sign in the heavens for that as well. So I just wanted to let you guys know, because that's what I do, because Nelson's not doing it. And why is Nelson not doing it? Because he's the false prophet. Remember, false Christ, false prophets in the latter days. Somebody had to be that role. Turns out it was Nelson. So there you go. Man, I don't know if you're going to be able to see these signs in the heavens. I was hoping to make it quick, because when I did the other video, the signs in the heavens were blurry when I rewatched them. So I hope that's not the case.